All right, Jamie.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, good morning to all partners and customers and friends and families worldwide. Happy to really be on the second series of this thought leadership. So really thanks to Microsoft and the partner channel community to really giving us a voice and a platform to talk about some at least challenges and actually also just overcome some successes what we see in the healthcare space. A little bit about our organization. I'm Jamie Chung, representing KenSci, and we are based a position as a healthcare AI enterprise platform. So really what we do is that we actually look for insights and opportunities in variation in data, in healthcare data, whether it's claims or EMR, utilization, and how can we actually improve patient outcomes and actually reduce churn in hospital operations. Our platform primarily is built by data scientists, clinicians, and engineers, and really validated and rooted in research. A little bit about us, just as a snapshot on the bottom, you can see the slides. The impact of lives that we're actually touching today on a global scale, around 57 million lives worldwide. Our papers and our technology and our way we do our science and our playbook is really rooted in academia. And so we do believe in really peer-reviewed and publishing our papers in what we do. We do have scope and actually engagements in about 7 countries worldwide. We were a finalist in Microsoft in 2008, Partner of the Year, and some other awards. I won't get into much of the specifics. For today, at least on this session of the Thought Leadership series that we're partnering with Microsoft on, is really about why we chose to build our product on Azure, and really taking the time to talk about 7 reasons, and 7 reasons that we're just talking about here in the office is why we chose to build an enterprise healthcare AI platform in Microsoft Azure. And again, my name is Jamie Chung, and I'm a Senior Product Manager here on the Platform Experiences team here, and my Twitter and email for any questions and follow-ups. So without further ado, really like to at least set some context into like what the KenSci platform really does. I mean, at its core, it does 3 things. It ingests healthcare in a very semantic way. That's actually natural and native for healthcare. So we think about EMR data, think about claims data. Does this platform really understand what a patient is, what a patient identifier is, what is a patient name, their social security number, what is their vitals, their labs? And you can actually have other platforms that can do machine learning, but they don't understand the semantics of what that data means. They understand the syntax of rows and columns, but actually to really natively understand what the patient is and really optimize workflows and workloads around that is actually super, super key differentiate what we do. The second thing we do is actually based on our academic and research is applying the best fitted model for the problem. You think of a snowball effect, the more we learn, the more our models learn, the more actually insight and medicine and mathematics we can really place it to really reduce costs and really save lives. And the third thing we really do is integrate back into workflows. It's about augmenting the existing workflows by business personas and executives and whoever that may be, care line managers and providers, not to show up with a new dashboard, but really to do something that can either augment the decision-making process and really help them make better decisions. So we'll start off with the first reason. So we think about why we chose Microsoft Azure to build our platform and our product is really the optimization for the health cloud. Azure is already a best-in-class enterprise cloud offering. Competitors like Amazon and Google and even on-prem or Cloudera, whoever that is, Azure is a best-in-class enterprise cloud offering at the get-go. We think about secondary, the investments it really took to really specialize in the healthcare vertical. You could be a very good generic enterprise cloud provider, but really doubling down on the investments. Do you understand the pain points and the problems within the healthcare space, the regulations, the compliance, and really can you help tailor solutions to really solve that problem? And that's something that we really looked on Azure and partnering with Microsoft and that ecosystem to really double down and solve those problems because this is a new set of challenges that we're facing. One of the third reasons is actually just backed and hardened by a global experience. We think of Microsoft as a global company. We think of Microsoft as a very experienced company, some with maybe 30 plus years, even if it's a cloud or just that kind of technology space. We think about the partners and just ecosystems and certifications that come along with that. And really, in essence, is one of our tenets here is building on the shoulders of giants. There's teams and there's experts who've done this problem before. We don't need to solve the wheel. And it really gives our product team a time to really focus on really solving healthcare scenarios and not getting caught up in the weeds that are very generic or fairly commoditized already in the space. The second reason we really do double down on Azure is that PHI data is serious. It's a very serious matter. We're looking actually at patient lives. These are people who are walking and talking every day. They have families, they have jobs, they have pains and they have burdens. And looking at this data and actually understanding how to take care of this data is a serious matter and something we really do think is important when we're choosing a technology partner. So we think about secure and compliance, right? There's zero compromise in security, zero compromises on these regulations and certifications that are in place. And this is really in the best interest of the healthcare enterprises. This is in the best interests of just these governing bodies, but ultimately it's the best interest of the patients, of the people, and making sure that the data that we do touch and the data we do augment and the decisions that are being made is actually secure. It is actually compliant. It actually is adherent. If not best in class, it goes above and beyond to make sure we are maintaining the confidentiality and maintaining that trust that patients do have with the system. And what comes with that is actually just our platform's ability to just piggyback on existing certifications. We talk about standing on the shoulder of giants, and Microsoft has teams and teams and teams and partnerships of just making sure that these certifications are kept at bay, that they're consistently updated, that they actually do get renewed, and we can build our services and our platform on top of these. So we think about certifications around HIPAA, high trust, GDPR, and just around these kind of governing bodies, and how important it is to actually make sure we do adhere to these services. So when we ingest data, for instance, are we actually doing it in a proper way that is encrypted at rest? And when we actually train our models, are those also encrypted? And making sure that we keep patients' data safe. And that's really the ultimate goal. Is if we do this in a way that's actually risk of patients, it's something that's not worth doing, and something we do keep very close to home here. The third reason is actually hybrid on-premise. So we think about the workloads today in the traditional enterprise, especially in the healthcare enterprise space, and not everyone's on the cloud, and that's a very apparent fact. Healthcare enterprises traditionally are on-premise. They actually have their own data centers, may actually partner with the data center locally, but they don't have a concept of a cloud, and actually helping them to either augment that migration of that workflow. So either can we help bring more workloads to the cloud? Can we help augment the way their data pipelines or their infrastructures are set up in a way that we can either augment with cloud compute and leverage really the capabilities of the Azure cloud? So for instance, training on a terabyte of data or training on 3 years of data of patient records and vitals and labs. And that is something that the on-premise systems aren't really set up to do, right? And going with a partner that actually understands how to move data to the cloud, and how to move data in the cloud that's seamless and that actually does not disrupt existing care of patients and existing business operations. That's something that's key, and understand these things don't happen overnight. These digital transformations is an investment, it's a journey, and really finding someone who can actually partner with you to make that journey happen and take the time to go through the hiccups, go through the pitfalls, making sure we're doing the right compliance reviews and actually making this thing work. We'll move to the fourth is experienced technology talent. I think a part of what makes us happy choosing Microsoft, and especially around the Azure ecosystem, is that a lot of our team members here have experience in the Microsoft ecosystem already. So a lot of our team members that actually built some of the Microsoft ecosystem and some of the actual Microsoft services, especially that are powering Azure. And being on the other side of the fence of being able to design a system for general use, but then now taking the opportunity to go dive deep into solving a specific problem. And these specific problems, more talking about the healthcare scenarios. What that does bring us is a reduced time to go live. It's a reduced time to operationalize. It's a reduced time to iterate with customers. It's a reduced time to get feedback and actually to make adjustments and to really be agile. And having that experience already is something that we do reuse in the product. And you think about the combination of how our product can actually be infused with this technology, the research from academia, the design process from our visual designers and our experience designers, medicine from our doctors, and just the knowledge that comes with that, and the mathematics from our data scientists, that really creates better experiences, and not just better experiences for our end users, but for the side effect users, like better experience for patients and for doctors and for executives. All of these who are actually stakeholders in our platform and our product. And that's something that really starts with the people, and that's something that's really important to us as well. We think about, you have an enterprise platform like you, and we always want to augment decisions. And that brings us to the fifth point, is how do we get the insights we produce? How do we get the results from machine learning models back so someone can actually take action on it, right? And we think about, does our platform play well with others? Is it something that you only need to be in Microsoft to work on? No, and that is a position, and that's something that we don't actually, that's something that we also make sure there's a room for integration, whether it's over REST API or some sort of GraphQL API or some other endpoint. But we play nicely with other enterprise solutions. So it could be an EMR. So do we need to write back the prediction score of a length of stay for a specific encounter back to Epic or Discerner? Can we integrate some of our insights in other collaborative environments such as Office 365 and Teams? Can we augment the existing analytical reports that are descriptive in nature and they're more like the rearview mirror, and actually augment them with machine learning and with predictive insight. So we think about the Power BI and the Power Apps and those systems and tools that are already there that these analysts and these users are already familiar with. It doesn't make sense to show up with our product with a new tool, right? So can we figure out a way to really partner with these organizations and augment how they make these decisions in a tool that's familiar to them? And that's really what's really also key for the platform, is to be able to understand that we are not the last mile, that there's always another discussion of, yes, we've done great machine learning work, we've done great work of detecting what to do and how to help patients, but if we can't help the patient make that decision, their job's not done, and really going an extra mile. And that really comes with the last mile. And for us as a part of our product, augmenting the workflow is key. So really taking the time to understand the user, taking the time to research and understand, is the right problem what they think it is, and building a solution that can really cater to solve that use case. We think about Microsoft also as a partner in just this ecosystem of why this is so important from the perspective even from Azure. You think about the vast community of technical documentation that our engineers use to make sure they're actually properly using the service correctly. The documentation or training we may take to actually adhere to a new service that's coming online. We think about the partners who help us actually roll something out globally or in a new region that is just being offered for Azure, making sure we're adhering to these compliance or regulatory requirements for these various countries as we're touching them. But even beyond that, Microsoft has had that experience of really cross-pollinating learnings. It's not specifically just about healthcare, it's also about finance, it's about automotive, it's about banking, it's about these other industries that Microsoft has had success in, and how can we actually tailor those lowest common denominator and apply it to the healthcare setting. What this really comes out to do is a playbook on how to do transactions. How do we do transactions with enterprises? We are fairly small, north of 70, around 70 at the moment. And how do we transact with organizations outside our weight class, outside our punching class? And when you think about having a platform and you can't show up with a platform day one, it's a discussion, and how do you have that discussion? And so actually we've learned a lot from Microsoft and how to have those discussions and how to actually move the needle in a way that we can actually make traction. And that's something that is important. We'll take a look at number 7. So it's familiar and trusted by enterprise IT. This is key, especially when we're thinking about deploying an entirely new infrastructure, or not entirely new, but a new addition to an infrastructure, a new addition to a platform. And why it's important for the IT to be familiar with it. If it's coming in a format that they don't understand, there's challenges for adoption. There's a lot of challenges around education. How do we make sure our documentation for our products actually is aligned with what they're thinking, with what these enterprise, with these other end users or side users of the platform can actually understand, and can they grok, and can they actually really take this a better word, use it and run with it, right? So we're not there to replace, we're really there to augment. We think about how existing enterprise IT, they have these tools, they may have monitoring or alerts or profiling or auditing that takes place, but how can we enhance those tools with these new data points? And that's something that our platform thinks about, especially with integration and going back to these familiar and trusted. We think about also the existing patterns and paradigms that enterprise IT personas may use to develop, to deploy, to test, to iterate, to train their existing users in their existing businesses, and really snap into that. Not to say we have a brand new idea and you need to relearn the wheel, but how can we either enhance what you're existingly doing or help make some recommendations to either educate or re-educate some of the team. And lastly, a quick bonus, it's a challenge of, this has never been done before, and this is like the 8th point of why Azure is quite a unique challenge and also quite a unique opportunity. This concept of an AI platform, especially in the healthcare space, hasn't really been done before. It hasn't really been done in any really industry. ML platforms today are fairly generic. To have a platform that really does understand healthcare data, so claims, EMR from Epic, Cerner, where have you not, really then applying our machine learning models on top of that, and really those ML models again are rooted in medicine and in academic research, is something that takes time to really build that repertoire and build that muscle and the discipline around. And then furthermore, just the discipline around how do we actually bring the right data point back to the decision makers. Understanding that we're not there to replace doctors, we're not there to replace analysts, we're not there to replace financial heads. It's more about how can we augment those people so they can solve new problems. Can we ensure that a doctor has the right recommendations when they're going to discharge a patient? And can we augment them with factors why we're explaining this to a patient? and really giving them additional data points to make a better decision, and in turn really just improve the quality of outcomes for all patients. And hopefully one day one of us will walk through an organization or a hospital and be effective at one of these ML models. And that's part of the journey of our product today. So thank you for actually taking some time to quickly understand 7 reasons why we do choose to go and partner with Microsoft Azure, at least when building our enterprise healthcare platform. Keisha, would love to hear from your side and any of the audience if there are any questions about what we're working on, and we'll take it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. That was a great presentation. I have a couple of questions that came up for me as you're presenting, but I'll hold off on those. I'll open it up to anyone on the call who would like to offer up a question for Jamie and the KenSci team at this time.
I have a couple of questions, Keisha. Hi, Jamie. This is Nav, and I'm on the marketing team for OCP. So I think you said the customers that you are dealing with, they're not cloud-born. So I was just curious to understand, how do you bring them on board? How do you convince them and show a value of being in cloud? What's the selling strategy there?
Right. So Sony touched a little bit on our selling strategy before in the previous talk series. I'll talk lightly back on it, but I'd love to capture your email, at least if you want to. We can have a deeper discussion on it. But at a very high level, it really boils down to, are we deriving value? So any product, any platform, anything we do want to transact with an organization, let's take a small sample of your data. We don't need the entire 10 years or 2 years worth of your data. Let's take a small slice of it. Let's say, for example, 3 years of data. Give us a space to do some analytical workloads. And usually that environment is some sort of space to install our platform in the cloud, so in Azure tenant or wherever that may be, and let us show what type of value we can accrue. Is there some hotspots or some blind spots you never saw before? And that is really the directional north in how we have these discussions, is let the data do the storytelling. And the beauty is we can augment the data with our own editorial, our own perspective of what to do. But it's not just us coming in with a big platform saying, hey, this is what you need to do, right? A part of that is a transaction and the dialogue of, let's see what actually is in the data. And it's not that anyone can't find these needles in the haystacks, but we're using better mathematics, we're using better techniques that are known and proven, that's rooted in academia, to help find those needles faster, right? And to help have those discussions with providers and with care line managers and with executives about some other problems they may have already thought of, but don't know how to approach, or problems they didn't know actually existed. And that's kind of how we start with that discussion, and leverage the cloud, especially to do those heavy cloud workloads quicker and also faster, more repeatably.
So that leads me to a second question. End of the day, I think the big impact that we would see is always going to be the patients, right? So is there a front end of this that patients can access as well, besides just the healthcare providers?
That's a great question. So thinking about what does a front-end experience for a patient look like in KenSci's world? I think the beauty and the challenge with KenSci is, from a patient's perspective, if we are invisible, we've done our job, right? We're not really there to wave a banner and say, hey, there's a KenSci IP sign into, right? And that's the beauty and pain, is the being able to augment an existing experience. So for instance, working with a healthcare organization that may already have a mobile app, or that may already have a desktop experience that a patient can sign into, a portal, and really augmenting that experience. So we've done some explorations and really also some iterations on how to augment an experience to make it more patient-centric, to make sure our predictions are in a patient's terminology, like in a jargon they can understand. Not being so medicine-driven, not being so academic that it's so complex, it's so hard to, but really talking in a language that they can understand. And that's also part of the challenge. Of how do you explain machine learning to someone who's never been educated in machine learning, right? So how do we make the outputs of our models approachable, trustable, consumable, actually meaningful, and something that you can actually take action from?
And I think, and more than anything, personalization, right? Because when I go to my doctor, I have to go with a specific problem there. Right? It's not and that's when the doctor would probably show some interest and look at the history. But if this was the patient-facing side of this would be okay, looking at your vitals, looks like you're more prone to A, B, and C. So there's kind of a self-awareness the patient gets as well. And that's when you just come back and you're more mentally prepared to have that conversation. And yeah, this is really cool.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
I mean, as a consumer side, I think this is totally transformational. Love it.
Of course. Thanks for sharing your questions as well. Please send more.
Sure. Thanks, Keisha, for having me on this call.
Absolutely. So are there any other questions from anyone else on the call? Okay, I'll ask my question. I think that you addressed this, Jamie, and Sunny addressed it in some ways last week as well, but I want to be really direct about it. I'm a major healthcare authority or organization. How and what distinguishes KenSci to win my business?
Oh, selling me a left field, Keisha. I think one
I'm here
of the
for you.
no, one of the main distinctions between us and other even players in this market or players who want to be at a seat at the table with this market is really the partnership. I think about this is not something you can swipe your credit card in an Amazon checkout and you get it, right? This is a long run, not a fun run. And that is something that is really important when we do choose to engage with a customer in an organization or healthcare enterprise is that there's a partnership there. There's a partnership who will help us understand, is there a clinical sponsor who actually understands there's a medicine or a clinical outcome we're trying to achieve? Is there also someone who realizes how to get this implemented? So think of a technical sponsorship from both sides, from our organization, sometimes also, most times actually with Microsoft as another third wheel here, and also with the healthcare enterprise. Is there someone who actually understands the technical challenges to get this done? And really lead in with a use case that really either brings value or actually just brings the right set of patient outcomes. So lead in with the Microsoft partnership here. You think that the partnership has enabled us to really know how to transact with organizations, and I believe that actually goes back to one of our playbooks, I believe. This one, as a trusted business partner. It comes down to the people, and the people that really take these projects from just inception on the whiteboard to some sort of engagement, to some sort of transaction, to a proof of concept, a pilot, to a test and iteration, actually deployment. And it's really about the people. And the people we work with, either on our side, the Microsoft partnerships, and as well as the healthcare enterprises, that combination of organizations coming together to say, this is something that's right for the patients, that's something that's really key. And at the end of the day, it's something to hang your hat on is that, the people you work with between your organization and inter-organizations is really what the impact really does come derived from.
Awesome. Thank you, especially for taking that kind of out of left field question. I appreciate you providing the answer and really thinking critically around the distinguisher that KenSci brings to the table and also how you build that trust and partnership. Just a final call out for questions. If anybody else on the line would like to ask any questions, now is the time to do so. Okay, with that, thank you all for joining. KenSci, definitely appreciate the presentation. Thank you, Jamie, for sharing your expertise and passion around this business and the partnership with Microsoft. We are very excited to welcome you all back next Friday for the next episode of this series. And with that, if there's something else, I will stop the recording and our call is concluded. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.